Hello, my name is Ruby. Welcome to Psychology Time. You might be wondering why I drew this box. Well, it represents the borders and limitations most people believe their name is confined to and has no influence or effect on them or anyone around them in any way. Are you one of those people who believe this and that your name is irrelevant or boring like black and white? Well, I'm here to convince you otherwise and actually show you that your name is in fact powerful and brings color to your identity. In this video, we're going to think outside the box about questions pertaining to our first and last name, as well as why it's important to remember and mention other people's names. Plus, we'll cover an in-depth experiment by neurologists who have proven that there's a psychological response when hearing our name, and how it's a beneficial social psychological trick we can use to establish trust and connections in our personal and professional life. So without further ado, let's get right into it. This video will cover these main points. 1. Questions you should ask concerning your name to discover more about yourself. 2. A scientific study on hearing your name compared to hearing other names. And 3. How to remember names and why that's a big deal. So, you definitely should find out the answers to these questions about your name. Firstly, what does your name mean? Where did it come from? Who were you named after? Does it have religious roots? What country or culture did your name come from? It's also relevant to ask about your last name as well, because it can give you clues into who you are and where you came from. It may take you back to your ancestors on the other side of the world. You may have royalty in your bloodline, or perhaps even some key historical figures. Ask your parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles to help you find out, or maybe use the link below in the description, because you might be shocked what you find out, and if you know or when you find out, please share it in the comments below, because I'm sure this is interesting to everyone and we can learn a little about each other. Believe it or not, using someone's name is indeed a very powerful segue into a good relationship, because their name is the greatest connection to their identity and individuality and shows them a sign of recognition. This in fact tells us that our name carries weight to it and holds high value to us without even realizing it. Simply saying someone's name can be an effective way of breaking into a conversation. It can also be effective when a person seems distracted or has disappeared off into their own head. I have noticed in my interactions with my colleagues and supervisor, the more I use their name in a conversation, the more engaged they become and actually listen to what I have to say. I believe that was the foundation of our current great relationship, because it just makes them feel more important and establishes a better connection between us. You know how important our name is because we just love hearing it. A behavior specialist named Dale Carnegie said it best, and I quote, "Remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language." Now, to validate saying someone's name is in fact powerful, let's take a look at it through a scientific perspective. In a 2006 study conducted by cognitive neuroscientists Carmody and Lewis, who used a functional MRI scan on several participants to observe and study what happens to the brain when their names are called out, as opposed to hearing different names. Let's now listen to what a neurologist had to say about the results.
The results have shown that several regions in these participants' brains have experienced greater activation patterns when hearing their own name in contrast to hearing other names. The areas of the brain that were activated involved the left hemisphere, the middle frontal cortex, the middle and superior temporal cortex. And last but not least, the cuneus. When you hear your own name, your auditory cortex, which is a part of your brain responsible for processing information, realizes that your name has just been said out loud, which causes chemical reactions in your brain releasing feel-good hormones, such as dopamine and serotonin. This burst of excitement makes people happy and sends unconscious signals such as empathy, trust, and compassion to the unconscious mind.
Thank you, Doctor, for the results. So if you want to show that you care, whether it be a new friend you meet,
Hey, nice to meet you.
a student in your classroom,
Hello there.
a customer or client of yours,
Pleasure doing business with you.
or perhaps a future boss that interviewed you,
Congratulations, you're hired.
dropping their name mid-conversation will definitely send a spark of interest from you to that person. Now I want you to take a moment and measure it on yourself. When someone remembers your name after meeting you, don't you feel respected and more important? Doesn't it make a positive and lasting impression on you? Because I know it does for me. Let me ask you this. Did you ever realize that when your boss, superior, or teacher says your name before telling you to do something, it makes you feel significantly more invested into doing that thing? Like if your boss says, "Hey Rachel, can you do this task for me?" Rather than just, "Hey, can you do this task for me?" It doesn't feel like you're forced into it when they mention your name to do something, especially when they ask politely. So you should keep this in mind when asking someone for a favor. It's also very important not to forget someone's name, because trust me, I know how embarrassing and awkward it can be. I'm just the worst when it comes to remembering names, until I came across some great tips I'll get into in a moment. So, have you met someone at an event and then 2 seconds later you ask yourself, what was his or her name? Or have you been on the opposite side of it? Like, has someone forgotten or had mistaken your name with a different one, and how did that make you feel? Did it make you feel to some degree irrelevant or displeased? Or it did not affect you in any way? Please let us know in the comments below so we can further understand how significant this matter is to a person's self-esteem. So how do we avoid these type of situations? Well, let's look at some valuable tips or techniques on how to remember names. Number 1, focus on their name. Before approaching someone or walking into a room of strangers, make it a habit of constantly asking yourself, what's their name? But try not to say it out loud, because that's just embarrassing. And when they say their name, initially pay attention to their name and repeat it back to them only when necessary. For example, you can say, "A pleasure meeting you, Sam. So Sam, how long have you been working here?" The more you repeat his or her name, the better chance you have of registering their name into your short-term and long-term memory. But try not to repeat it to the extent where you start to annoy them, eventually driving them away. Number 2, think of associations. Try comparing between people with the same name. Let's say you just met someone named Emily, and you know someone else with the same name. So think of a comparison between the Emily you know and the one you just met, whether it be a physical feature like her eyes or smile, or perhaps the way she talks, or maybe her personality is similar. This method can remind you of what her name is the next time you see her. You can also picture a more physical connection to his or her name, because if one part of a person's name sounds like another word or object, that can be a good trigger for your memory. For example, Mike might become a microphone. Or Bill could become a dollar bill. Or Brian can become a brain. Or you can even compare their names to celebrities you know. Even if you have a hard time creating a visual connection, do not worry, because even the simple act of trying to do this will help you remember their name. Number 3, ask for clarification. If you're not sure if you've heard the person's name correctly, then you'll never memorize their name, so it's important not to be afraid to ask them to repeat it or spell it for you. Then maybe you can write it down on a notepad or type it in on your phone along with other names of new people you met. By the end of the day, you can review the list of new names and try to remember the faces of each name. This has been proven to be an effective way to quickly remember the names of the new people you recently met, and you'd save yourself from being placed in an awkward position. The main takeaway from all this is to actively try to remember the name and not just passively hear it. The more effort you put in, the more likely you are to remember the name. All in all, people want to be treated as human beings, not objects. So when you use their name, it can be the fastest and most reliable way of creating a good first impression. Everyone has a name, so always try to remember it and use it to better connect to them. You will most certainly notice a difference in your personal and professional relationships.